I'm super excited where we're headed for the next few weeks, talking on generosity, holistic generosity. And when we talk about holistic generosity, a holistic generosity really is living a life of abundance. And I want to lay some groundwork before I really get into where I want to land. And the groundwork is important because there's some abuses in the church, and there's some poor teachings in the church about finances, and there's some poor responses from those of us that call ourselves followers of Christ towards those poor teachings. And so I want to address that a little bit. I want to make something clear that I don't buy into either of the extremes. I don't buy into the extreme that increased materialism is a statement of spirituality. It doesn't make you more spiritual if you have a nice boat. Okay? I don't buy into that extreme. I don't buy into the extreme that if you live in poverty, you're more spiritual. And those are both poorly taught from the pulpit, and they're both errors. Okay? I don't buy into either of those extremes. I do believe that God does bless us. I do believe that. But God blesses us so that we can bless others. We are blessed to be a blessing. It's called currency, which means it's current, it flows, and we don't want to be the dam. Okay, we have a lot of people on vacation today, so those of you that are here that love Jesus have to help me. Vacationers. So I want to know that I don't buy into either of those extremes. I think there are probably examples of each of those, but I think we make those look like somebody's more spiritual than somebody that isn't, and those are bad teachings. I want to say that there's a teaching that says well Jesus was poor. Well, Jesus wasn't poor. That's a bad teaching. Just to land on that for a minute, if Jesus were poor, Jesus would not have needed to have a treasurer. And if Jesus had a treasury that no one knew somebody was stealing from, it was a pretty good-sized treasury. In fact, the Bible does read, the narrative does tell us that he had several wealthy women that financed his marriage, that financed his ministry. Wow. Put that one on YouTube. If one of you tweets that, they're gone. I like the 9 o'clock reading. We have, I don't teach on finances very often. I believe there's 52 weeks in a year. There's 52 weeks in a year. And this is the first time in last year that I dedicated a series on giving. We do this about twice a year, about 6 weeks out of the year, and I believe based on that's a tithe. There's 52 weeks a year, 6 weeks a year, 10% of that. We'll talk about giving. But holistic generosity is not just about finances, and we find that as we walk through these next 3 weeks of conversation. It's about living in a different place in here. Okay? And we do have some needs here that we need to meet in terms of finances here at City Church. We do listen. We need to make a way to bring on another staff for us. Andrea and I need help. You people are learning now. We do need to add staff. We need to, our sound system, our entire sound system is either borrowed or left behind by the previous church. And as much as we believe that Jesus can heal anything, we think the sound system is beyond visibility. Okay, we need to upgrade our sound system. And we increased expenses, air conditioning, all that going on this summer. But we want, more than anything, we want to be able to invest in this community. We want to invest in the city of El Mirage. We want to be able to generously be a part of what goes on in the city and bless families and watch families grow. And we really do want to be the kind of church that if we weren't here, the city of El Mirage would desperately miss us because we invest so well and we live so generously, holistic generosity. Okay? So our theme verse for the next couple of weeks comes out of 2 Corinthians 9:8, and it reads like this: And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things and at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. Now listen to how deliberate he wrote that. Paul wrote, and God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you see a need, you see a family that needs a car, or a person that needs a home, or children that need clothing, or food that needs to go into a house, or maybe it's an overseas mission that you want to invest in? Have you ever seen one of those needs and you just wish, man, I just wish I could just meet that need. I wish we could just buy that family a car. I wish we could just give those children all the clothes. I wish we could just totally reach that need. Have you ever had that happen to you? That's what he's saying here. He wants to bless us so that we will abound in every good work. So we would live in an abundance where we would be able to meet every good work. Okay? Proverbs 11:25 says this, which I love the first word in it. You hear me say it often because I believe in it. It says whoever, that first word. I'm so glad that in here, that word whoever or whosoever. Whoever. The door is open. The relationship with Jesus is so available. Whosoever believes. There's no prerequisite. Whoever. And he says in here, whoever, here's what's interesting, whoever brings blessing will be enriched. It's a guarantee. You will be enriched. But here's what I love about that. It doesn't say if the Christian brings blessing or if the guy who's living a good life brings blessing. No, it says whoever. What's cool about that is it's a universal law. Sowing and reaping is universal. What that means is it affects everybody on the planet. You can't change the law. Gravity is a universal law. You may not believe in God, but because of the universal law of gravity, you stick to this planet when you get up every morning. Well, hopefully at night too, I guess. But gravity is a universal law. Sowing and reaping is a universal law. Whoever sows will reap. And if you sow blessing, you'll be enriched, and the one who waters will himself be watered. But here's the challenge. Have you ever heard of Charles Blondin? Charles Blondin, in the early 1900s, set up a tightrope across Niagara Falls. 11,000 feet, 160 feet in the air. And he would walk across that tightrope, and he would walk and do different crazy stunts on the tightrope. In fact, one time he crossed it, and he took the stove with him, and in the middle of the tightrope walk, he stopped and cooked breakfast while standing on the tightrope. At one point, Charles Blondin took a wheelbarrow and he started on the United States side and walked across the tightrope and got to the Canadian side. Now, he was doing so many stunts on this tightrope above Niagara Falls. The crowds had grown so large on both sides of the countries, U.S. and Canada, that the crowds cheering was louder than the turmoil of the water coming over the falls. Thousands and thousands of people would gather to watch his next stunt. And as Charles brought a wheelbarrow from the United States and crossed and got to the Canadian side, and he asked a question. He said, "How do you believe that I can do this again?" And the crowd went wild. "Woo! You're the man! You can do it!" And he said, "How do you believe I can do it with somebody riding in the wheelbarrow?" And they went, "Yeah! Yes, you! Yeah!" And he said, "Okay, I need a volunteer." Not one. Not one. See, listen, you cannot be holistically generous if you're not willing to get in that wheelbarrow. If you're not willing to trust the universal law of Jesus' generosity. And I can tell you this, I can't walk a tightrope, but I know this, I'm a man of God, and I'm a man of prayer, and I know where the Lord wants this church to go, and we're going to get there. And we're going to have to climb in the wheelbarrow and trust that. And there's going to be times when the roar of the falls is going to be super loud, and we're going to think it's scary. There's going to be times when the mist of the falls is going to try to knock us off the road. There's going to be times when the 160 feet in the air seems really alone and nobody knows what we're going through. There's going to be times when that 11,000-foot trail looks like there's no way we're ever going to reach the end of it. But I promise you, we have a God who will honor if we will live with holistic generosity. I promise you. I promise you. So listen, holistic generosity, I put in my notes, holistic generosity. Notice that I'm preaching from paper because I don't have an iPad. Holistic generosity. There's 4 ingredients to holistic generosity. Number 1, I will give everything I have. Number 2, I will give everything I am. Number 3, I will give everything I will ever be, or I will ever have. And number 4, I will give everything I will ever be. Unless we live with that heart, we can't truly walk in holistic generosity. And if we don't walk in holistic generosity, we can't walk in an abundance that puts us in position for every good work that God puts in front of us. Okay? And listen, this next few weeks of this conversation, this is way bigger than money. This is not just about money. It's a way bigger picture. And listen, Tracy and I, we did not enter ministry for the money. We don't do this for the money. We do not do this for the money. We don't. Based on last week's schedule, I'm getting paid just about $1 an hour. Not kidding. But here's the deal. As your pastor, I have a responsibility to help us think with a kingdom mindset. To think from the kingdom to earth, not from the earth to the kingdom. Okay? And I have a responsibility to help us think that way. And it's an eternal responsibility, but it also is how do we put it on and wear it? How do I zip it up and walk this out today? How does Pastor Husband help me today? Well, listen, I have a responsibility for that. And we've only been down here a couple of years, but we've heard stories of the economic crash that happened in the 2008, 2009 time frame down here. The devastation. I've sat across the table from some of you in this room who share what happened in their lives and jobs lost and businesses closing and houses being forfeited and just near bankruptcies and bankruptcies and the disastrous things that happened in many families in this valley. And listen, I have a responsibility to help you live. Listen, here's the deal. As I've heard those stories, I've also heard this story. That most of you in this room, if that crash happened today, would be in the same place you were when the last one happened. And the truth of the matter is, it's going to happen again. Our economy will crash again. You look at history, and our economy crashes every few years, and it's going to happen again. And as your pastor, I fail you if I don't help you get in a position to rise above